Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about how I cracked the online assessment for all of these companies. So the list actually contains a lot more companies, but I wasn't able to place all the companies in a short space. So it just mentioned I guess 10 or 12 companies over here. So I'll be talking about the tips, the journey, the resources, the roadmaps, basically everything about it. So with that, let's get started. So firstly, I'll try to talk a bit about my prep journey and the background. So I'm not from a coding background. I was basically a army aspirant. Then things went south. I took admission in IIT. Then I started coding and I actually loved it. After that, I joined a product-based company. So right now I'm in Microsoft. So Microsoft was the company I joined right from college. So if you want to see my profile, so this is my profile right over here. It says that I'm top 2% in like, okay, so the global rank it says is top 2%. I actually believe it should be top 1%, but it's still still top 2% because I've only attended 13 contests. I guess it should get better as soon as I attend more contests. Regarding the number of problems, so yeah, I've solved a lot of problems. I've actually solved 1600 problems on lead code. Combine it with GFG code forces code chef, you should get around 2000 problems over here. But the main thing I wanted to show is this graph. So let's talk about this graph, how long it took me to reach this level. So you can see over here, basically in the month of July, I started my journey. So it was after mid July. So by this time, I didn't have much idea. Basically, didn't have much idea even about the language and stuff. So I was deciding which language to choose. So finally, I started with C++. There are some reasons that we'll talk about later. So I started with C++, and then I was learning C++ and STL, and then I started coding on GFG. So that entire streak isn't over here. So by October, I did some coding on lead code itself. Then in the month of December, I did some more coding. So in total, this is around a month, I guess. What about 2021? So in 2021, some things went happened, and I stopped coding altogether. And then it was month of May. I know that the placement would happen in August. I knew it back then, so I just had 3 months to prepare. So I started grinding lead code really hard. So over here you can see that each day I was having a lot of submissions. You can see around 20-30 submissions on each day. So that is how I was preparing for it. In 3 months I was able to, I guess, have 1,000 questions prepared. So I was able to do 1,000 questions because how the way I did it was that I sat in the morning, I picked up a question, I solved it. Whatever suggestion I got for that particular question, I even solved it, and the list continued, right? So till the night I was just solving questions. So that really helped me during my placement season. So my placement season started in August, and like, fortunately enough, I was able to crack most of the companies, if not all the companies. After that, I did spend some time in coding, etc., but that wasn't that much. So in 2022, you can see that the 2022 journey was pretty blank. But right now I've again started doing lead code. So I guess it's my biggest streak. So it has been 60 days. I've been continuously doing it. I really hope I'm able to grow well with it. Cool. So back to the topic. So that was all about me and how I prepared it. So it just took me 4 months to learn everything from a newbie level, I'll say. So I was basically a noob, and from a noob to getting to a position to crack most of the companies, it took me 4 months. So can you do it? How to do it? We'll discuss about that. So we'll be discussing about CP versus problem solving versus dev. Then we'll discuss why the companies ask for problem solving for dev roles, then resources, then the lessons learned the hard way. So these are the lessons that I have learned, and I want to share my experiences with you so that you don't commit the same mistakes yourself. Also the roadmap. So it won't be the scam of do this 50 questions and get placed in a PPC. These things are quite trending nowadays, but trust me, if there were any 50 questions that anyone could do and get into a PPC, get into Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, then entire India would have been in these companies. That's definitely not the case. So it's a sheer scam. Don't fall for this. So I won't be sharing this kind of a scam, but I'll give you a proper roadmap for this. Okay, so let's get ahead. So what is CP? What is problem solving? What is development? So let's put them for now in one category. Let's put this in another category. So development is basically when you are developing any software or anything, right? So that's development. So development is really different from CP versus problem solving, and problem solving. Now which one is better? Actually, that's a stupid question. Which is better, oranges or apples? They don't have any comparison, right? So these are two different things. You shouldn't try to compare it. They both have their own importance, right? So the people who want to go into development, it's great. You should maybe start contributing to open source. You could get into GSOC, and things are really great over here. I heard of people saying that don't have much of a scope in development. Trust me, there's a lot of scope everywhere. You just need to be good at it. However, let's talk about CP versus problem solving. So let's say this is CP. So this entire thing is CP. So what's problem solving? The way I'm defining problem solving over here, different people can have their different opinion regarding this, but the way I'm saying problem solving is basically the things the companies expect you to have. So this is problem solving. So you can see clearly that problem solving tends to be a subset of CP. So if you are doing CP, that would be more than sufficient. However, doing problem solving like itself is beneficial if you're trying to get into a company, but if you're doing CP, it's more than sufficient, right? Okay, so now coming to the point, what do companies expect you to do? So let me draw that with a different color, maybe blue. Yeah. Okay, so this is what the companies are expecting you to have or to know if you want to get selected. So this we understand, this is exactly problem solving thing, right? What about this and this? So this is a bad luck. It might happen that you are not having a good day or good luck, and a company asks you something that you have never covered in problem solving, or that's not from some standard algorithm. That might happen. So let's just call it bad luck. It's a rare case to happen, but could, right? What about this? So this is topics like core CS fundamentals. So for freshers, they might ask you operating system, computer networks, DBMS, all that sort of stuff, right? So this is that. Also for roles that are not of a fresher level, so you might be asked system design. So that also doesn't falls under problem solving or CP. So that's a different topic. So I think that with this you are able to analyze the differences between all of these three things. Also, what I would recommend is that if you are a fresher, if you are in your first year or second year, and you haven't tried both of these things, so you haven't tried CP or you haven't tried development, you should at least try both of them and then make an informed decision. So might be right now you are a developer, you are a great developer. Let's say you develop apps for Android, right? And you have never ever tried CP. So you might think that CP is worthless and it's of no use, and you might be having a bias against it. What I would strongly recommend is that at least try it once, right? It is possible, and it's highly possible, I'll say, that you do some contests, you get a good rank, and you start having a knack for it, you start loving it actually. On the other hand, if you are a person who's really into CP and problem solving but has never tried development, you should try development as well, because it is possible that you start loving development and then you want to switch. So the entire point is that you shouldn't leave any stones unturned. You should explore all the opportunities or all the possibilities and then make an informed decision about it. So now if you are interested in problem solving, so the ones that are the companies are going to ask you, so lead code is definitely the way to go. Let me clear the screen a bit, it's too messy now. Cool. So if you're interested in problem solving, then lead code is the way to go. So lead code has around 2.5 thousand 2500 problems, I guess. So it is the entire question bank. So it's highly likely, or we can say it's with a probability of around 90 or 99% that if you sit for a good company, let's say you sit for Google or you sit for Microsoft, and if they ask you a question, then most of the times it's gonna be something from lead code. It might not be the exact same question, but it's gonna be something similar. So if you have good practice of lead code, you are most likely gonna like solve this particular question easily. GFG is another resource you can follow. They actually have good blogs and stuff, so you should check this out as well. What about CP? So the only reason it's marked over here as like bold and in caps is that Codeforces is by far the best resource you can get. This is my personal opinion. Your opinion might be a bit different, but I believe that Codeforces actually hosts the best coders in the world, right? It has regular contests, it has a lot of blogs, it has a lot of knowledge in itself. So if you are into CP, this is something you cannot miss out. So it is the way to go. What about CodeChef? If you want to give even more contests, right? So for example, Codeforces would have around maybe 1 or 2 contests per week. If you are more geeky and you want to give even more contests, go for CodeChef. If you even want to give more contests, you can go for contests on LeetCode, GFG, AdCoder, TopCoder. There are a lot of websites, but at least do this. Like you can't afford to miss this out. Whatever development, if you're into development, try contributing to open source and stuff. So yeah, that's it about it. I think you now have a better knowledge about this. Moving ahead, why companies ask for problem solving in the first place? Now, recently I heard a lot of debate over this, that companies are stupid, they have lost their mind, they keep asking problem solving questions even when they are hiring for dev roles, because dev role person would just do some development, right? So why would you ask a person who's being hired for dev role to have good problem solving skills? So the reason for that is that they want capable minds. Let me change the pencil, it's not making sense actually. Okay, so they want capable minds. They want the ones who are able to tackle problems, the ones who don't use order of n factorial logic in an order of n problem, the ones who have a desire to learn constantly, the sharp ones. Okay, so if a person is good at problem solving, that means he is sharp, obviously. If he is good at problem solving, it means that he has learned a lot of stuff, and it's not the case that he learned everything in a day. So it was a gradual process, he kept learning it on the entire journey, so he definitely has the desire to learn. He definitely won't be doing this mistake, that's obvious. He's willing to tackle the problems, because in a contest you are actually facing problems, you have to tackle it within time. So you build that kind of a caliber once you are a problem solver or a competitive programmer. And also he's capable. So a person who's good at problem solving actually fills in all of these categories. Now, does a good solving mean that the person would be a good developer as well? So yes, in most of the cases. However, there are exceptions as well. So let's say there are 1,000 people. Out of these 1,000 people, if a person is a good developer, he would also be a good, like if he's a good problem solver, he would be a good developer. This would hold for around, let's say, 900 or maybe 990 people. What about the remaining 10? So these remaining 10 would be outliers. So these would be the people who would be great at development and really bad at problem solving, right? Or there could be people that those who are doing really great at problem solving, but they really suck at development. So yes, these cases do exist, but the population or the percentages of them is pretty rare. So companies actually don't consider that, because at the end of the day they want an exam that's simple enough to conduct, and that could actually filter out the non-deserving candidates from the deserving candidates. Obviously I feel bad about these 10 people who are actually deserving in the role they could have joined, but they couldn't get over there just because of problem solving. I do feel bad for them, but that's how the world works, right? So until and unless we have a better mechanism of selecting who's better at what, this trend is going to follow, and the companies are companies would keep asking problem solving things. Going ahead, the resources. So what are the resources you can follow? So everything you'll ever need in this journey is going to be absolutely free. If something is paid, you don't need it, except for the internet recharge. Of course, you have to pay for that. What are the platforms you can use? So Codeforces. I guess I already advertised Codeforces a lot. So other than that, you can use LeetCode, CodeShift, Geek for Geeks. There are n numbers of platforms, but these are the major ones. What about the books? So I personally don't read books myself, neither do I recommend it, but yeah, books actually have a lot of knowledge in them. So if you are someone who has an knack for books, or who really enjoys loving books, or like reading books, so he can go for this particular book, that's Competitive Programming by Felix Helm. So this book actually talks about competitive programming in general. If you want a book on algorithms, then you can go for CLRS. So I think in most of the colleges this would be the standard book that they are teaching for algorithms, but I'm pretty sure that most of the times they won't be even covering 5% or 10% of this book. So what about the remaining 90%? The actual thing is over there in the remaining 90%. So you can holistically follow this book if you are into books. And blogs and websites. So these websites actually have good blogs. So GFG has blogs. CP Algorithms is actually a good website wherein you can learn almost any algorithm. So if you search any algorithm followed by the name CP Algorithms on Google, you'll get a link to this website, and they'll be talking about the algorithm in detail. And also CF, yeah, obviously CF, Codeforces, it has a lot of blogs. What I find special about CF blogs is that the person who's writing the blog would write the entire thing he knows about it, and below it the best coders in the world, or let's say the people who are trying to contribute to the community, they'll be giving their own views. So the content actually becomes really rich. And yeah, obviously you have my channel. So in the channel I keep posting videos, or I keep upsolving the videos, so you can refer to them and increase your knowledge. So for those who don't know what upsolving means, what I do is that after a contest is over, I record all the videos, I record all the solutions for this question, I talk about them, so in kind of an editorial way. So yeah, I upload that on YouTube, and then if anyone has a doubt, he can ask in the comment section. I try to answer every doubt possible. So these resources should be more than enough for you in this journey. Now lessons. So these are the lessons, some of which I have learned the hard way, but I want you to learn from these itself so that you don't commit the same mistakes. So the first lesson is that CP is not the way you code for placements. So to give an example, it's it's regarding my interview itself. So when I was giving my interview, I knew what algorithm needs to be deployed. It was pretty plain and simple in my brain. So when I was coding it up, the interviewer was kind of angry or unsatisfied. So I asked him like, what's the issue? So he said that what you're using is a global variable. So this would in return, expose this value to other functions as well. So if it exposes the value to other functions, they can misuse this. So I told him like there's a single function in my code. So he said that when you'll be coding in the industry, so there would be a lot of functions in a single class, and then if you expose something like this is not a good practice. So make sure that you can do CP in any manner possible. It doesn't matter if you're using something global or using something public or internal, private, whatever. But when you are appearing for placement interviews, make sure you don't commit such mistakes. Also, when you're going for placement interviews, make sure that your variables don't have names like A, B, C, D, E, N, G, H. So that doesn't work. So your variable names should be specific. So I can make actually an entire video on this, so let's not cover it in this. Also, don't sacrifice your sleep before interviews, especially before your OAs. So this can actually mess up your performance and can have really detrimental results. I have faced this myself. I really regret it till now. So don't ever do it. Also learn to enjoy the process to make it a cakewalk. So right now when you'll start, maybe you don't enjoy it at first, but you have to learn that when you are learning something, there's a joy in it, right? Once you start enjoying it, so there would be a feedback in your brain that whenever you learn something, you enjoy it, right? So your brain would know that whenever you want to enjoy something, you have to learn something. So this is something complicated that our brain automatically develops. So if you start having joy in things you learn, you'll gradually keep learning stuff, and that would really help you to grow. Other than that, you have to realize that Rome was not built in a day, and neither can you become a grandmaster in a single day. So let's say you are a specialist on code forces right now. Yeah, I know I keep naming code forces, but this video is not endorsed. Okay, so if you're a specialist right now and you want to become a grandmaster, and if you set a aim that I'll become a grandmaster in a day or in a week or in a month, it's not gonna happen. It's definitely not gonna happen, right? So you have to realize that you can become a grandmaster, but it's not gonna happen in a day. Similar to Rome was not built in a day. So this is something you have to realize, and you have to know the value of patience and consistency. So aim high. If it doesn't make people laugh, then do you even have a dream? Aim sky high. So your aim should be such that if you're telling anyone, if you're telling your peers, if you're telling your family, anyone, so they should literally laugh at it. It should seem like a mockery, like it's a complete joke. You can't ever achieve it. If it's that big, only then it's worth dreaming for. Also, every one of you is fighting a different battle, so stop comparing. Now, a healthy competition is always great. It helps you to grow, but sometimes what happens is we start comparing ourselves with someone else. That is really detrimental. So we don't know that what kind of a background he's having or what kind of issues you are having. So don't try to compare in such a manner that it's detrimental for you itself. There's a brief line of difference between a healthy competition, so something is really a healthy competition, and then comparing in such a manner that it's detrimental for you. So try to learn this difference and always stay on this part. Let's go ahead with that. So finally coming to the roadmap. Now firstly we'll be talking about beginners. So these are the people who actually have never coded or just started coding. So what I'll advise them is that pick a language. So my advice would be to pick C++ if you haven't already learned one. So if you are already familiar with Python or you're familiar with Java, C#, any language, So go ahead with this. No need of learning a new language. But if you haven't learned anything, right, my advice would be strongly go with C++. Now the reason I'm specifically saying C++ is that it has a lot of resources, or the CP resources. So basically every good coder you will see, or most of the good coders, actually code in C++. So C++ has a ton of resources, right? So this is one thing. On top of that, C++ is actually fast. So it's a lot faster than Python. It's faster than Java. So what happens is when you code, like when you compile your code, the time it would take in C++ to run would be far lesser than the time it would take in Python. So that's one added advantage of C++. But it's also beneficial to know Python along. So the only reason I'm saying that learn a language like Python is that the code you'll get in Python is pretty concise. No matter what you are coding for, the code in Python is always going to be lesser than the code you'll have in C++ in terms of number of lines of codes. So that actually saves time in competitive programming. On top of that, it doesn't overflows. For example, if I give you a question that return me a plus b, so a plus b can simply be returned, right? It's not anything complicated. But what if a and b have super large values and they are in form of strings, right? So let's say they have some values like 10 to power 20, a pretty big number. C++ cannot even store it, right? How would you go about it? Or let's say 10 to power 40, let's make it even bigger. How would you go about it? So one way of doing it would be that you can convert it into strings, right? Then imitate the behavior you want in string itself. So you can make a addition function for strings and then return it. However, in Python there is no overflow. So a Python can easily store this. A Python like programmer can easily store this and then return the right answer. So that is one thing why a person could prefer Python over C++. But I'll say that go with C++. Just learn Python for these kind of stuff. Like if you have a question which specifically requires Python, then you can code it over there as well. It's not a blocker for you. The next advice is most important: code and code, and still code. Maybe hacker earth. So in the beginning itself, it might be a bit boring journey, because in the starting you won't be giving any contest. You would just be learning, and you won't even have a point of reference that what I'm learning, am I able to implement it somewhere, or am I able to put it to use. So just trust the process, stick to it. Also you can use hacker earth for this as well. So on hacker earth you can select that you want to learn a particular language. So you can select that you want to learn C++. Then they'll give you simple questions. So the question could be as simple as see out this, or like print this on the screen, or print this pattern. So in that way you can start learning things. Then learn about the complexity analysis. So I'm talking about this time and space complexity analysis. This is super important, because if you don't know about this, it becomes tough for you to develop the right algorithm for a given test case. So if you don't know what the complexity should be for the right algorithm, you might be actually stuck thinking in the wrong manner itself. So this becomes important. Also start giving contests when you are familiar with the basic stuff, and definitely upsolve. So when you are like familiar with what data structures are, right, you can start giving contests. Maybe you are just not even able to solve a single question, but the time you'll spend actually thinking about the solution is important, because in that time you'll think about what are the possible solutions for it. And as soon as the contest is over, you can see any of the upsolving video. You can see it on my channel as well. So when once you are able to see that upsolve video, so you'll be able to analyze that what was the difference between in your approach and what I have coded on in what others have coded, right? And what where were you going wrong. So this actually is really beneficial. Other than that, learn STL. So STL basically is that it's like predefined data structures, or data structures that others have written in C++, because I'm talking about C++ specifically. So it's the data structures others have written, so that you don't have to code them yourself. So let's say I give you a question which requires hashing. So you have two choices. You start with C++, then you write your own hashing algorithm, you write your own data structures, and then proceed with it. Or you can use the STL. So STL can, so one of the most known template library is include bits standard C++.h. So this library this library actually contains, this header file actually contains a lot of data structures. So you can use this, and you can directly use the hashing algorithm, or you can directly use the hash maps. to perform the operations. So this is a big time saver. Now without learning STL, you might be able to solve some questions in CP, but you would be really slow. It would be far more beneficial for you if you learn STL first. So once you have knowledge of STL, you'll be able to like solve these questions faster, and it would also be easier for you to solve it, because you won't have to go through the hustle of implementing everything from scratch. Okay, going ahead, make coding groups. It could be a big group or a small group. So the point over here is that when you're solving any question, it is possible, and it would really happen to you as well, that you will get stuck on some questions and you would really need some help. So at that time, if you have a coding group, so the people in that coding group could help you. Also about these two things, that is complexity analysis and STL, let me know if you need help for this. I'll be more than willing to make videos on the channel itself. You can watch these videos, and trust me, once you watch those videos, I don't think you'll need to go to any other place to clear your concepts, because I'll be clearing these concepts in a much holistic fashion. So let's go ahead. So now talking about, what about the intermediate coders who have coded but are not great at it. So you firstly have to make a list of the topics you're going to do. I already have done that. I'll be sharing that list. So that's the number one thing you have to do. Also keep practicing a new concept until it becomes ingrained in you. So let's say I'm solving something on, let's say, two pointers, right? So just took a random topic. So in two pointers, what I need to do is that firstly I'll go through the theory, the concept behind it, and then I'll start doing questions. I have to do as many questions as possible, because when I'll repeatedly do questions, so what would happen is that my brain would fetch this information over and over again. Okay, how a two pointer is done, like how a two pointer works, can I use a two pointer for this question, all that sort of stuff. And so that memory actually gets in a more solid fashion, it gets ingrained in you. So that actually really helps. Next thing is, don't get greedy for ratings. So this is a really important point, I'll say. So it's just a byproduct of the learning. It's not like if your rating is not increasing, you're not learning anything. You have to understand that a good growth is somewhat like this. So you'll definitely be growing, but on a larger time scales. For example, if you compare this and this, so you'll feel that you're going down, but you're actually learning, right? It's natural in learning phase to go up and down, up and down. So this is completely fine. So you would grow slowly but surely if you're consistent. So consistency actually helps. Also, don't cheat. Nowadays I see a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of Telegram channels. The sole purpose of the existence of those groups or the channels is actually cheating. So they upload the solution and then like they enjoy subscribers and stuff. The problem over there is that they are wasting their time as well as your time. They might be actually earning something by using monetization and stuff, but they're actually wasting your time, because you're not learning anything by cheating. Instead, if you would have like been stuck on that question, it is possible that even for 2 hours you wouldn't have been able to code it up and able to come up with the algorithm, but the benefit is that for those 2 hours you would have exhausted your brain, like you would be thinking about that of the solution of that problem. So you might have like 3 approaches in your mind then, right? So you should write down these 3 approaches. After contest is over, you can always look up for a video or an editorial. Definitely go to my channel for the video. Yeah, so you can look up for the videos or the editorials for it, and then try to see that where you were going wrong. Now on the other case, if you simply cheated and uploaded the solution, then in that case you really didn't learn anything. And moreover, the point is that the person who's uploading these videos is actually stupid enough, right? So he at most would be knowing A, B or C questions, at most I'm saying. So your graph would go something like this, because you really don't know nothing. So your graph would go up, and then because that person actually knows a limited amount of stuff, so you'll still be like solving the same thing. So your graph would go linear or even down if it stops uploading. So this is not a good sign. Neither you are learning anything, neither your graph is good. So I'll say stay focused and don't cheat. Trust me, trust the process, trust me. If you're not cheating and if you're staying constant, you would grow, and you also would get place if that's what you want. Also make groups. So groups are beneficial over here as well, even if you're intermediate, because problems would come. Even if you're intermediate, it doesn't mean that you won't get stuck on problems. You would get stuck on problems more often than not, and at that times groups could help. One thing I can advise is that if you're going to make a group and you really need someone who can go through your questions and can answer them, try putting me up in that group. You can contact me on LinkedIn, and then from there I can maybe be present on that group. Or you can, like, if you are unable to understand a concept, you can comment down on any of the videos. I'll try to make a video on that as well. Cool. Ask for help if you are stuck. So you can ask for from your peers or from me. So that point is already discussed, I guess. Also help others. Now the thing is that if you know someone whom you can help, so let's say you know a friend who's bad at a particular topic. Let's say he's bad at backtracking. So if you already have knowledge of backtracking, go and teach him. So in this way, your knowledge would increase because you are explaining the concept to someone else. So in return, your knowledge would also grow. Even if you don't know backtracking and if you're interested in learning the same, so you should firstly learn it yourself and then teach him. So in that way, you learn a new concept, and even that new concept would be better absorbed by you. Okay, moving ahead. What's the chronology for learning all of this stuff? Now you might have a different opinion on this, but this is the chronology I think makes more sense. There are several topics which we can jumble up actually. So you can say that I want to study 2 pointers before hashing, but this chronology actually makes more sense to me. So what I'll say is that start with hashing, then go for 2 pointers, then go for sliding window. 2 pointers and sliding window are different concepts but somewhat similar. Yeah. So then start with strings, then you can start with sorting in sets. So there's a reason I've mentioned sorting and set in a similar in the same bucket. Yeah. After that, you can start with DQ, queue, and stack. So these are part of STL itself. So if you're doing STL before, you would be having some ideas. So over here, you just would be going through the questions. Then you can study questions on greedy approaches, then on recursion, then linked list, bit manipulation, heap. Heap is also known as priority queue in case of CPP STL or C++ STL. Then you can study about binary trees, then BSTs, then graph, DP, then backtracking, then try union find segment trees. So these 3 topics are somewhat considered tough, but trust me, they are super easy. There's nothing tough with tries or union find or segment trees. To validate the claim, what I can say is that a few months back I was teaching 2 people. So I know that those two personally. So those two said that okay, we are comfortable with other topics, but we are not comfortable with segment trees because we have heard that it's tough and all that stuff. It's an advanced topic. So in order to get this fear out of them, what I did is that the first topic I taught them was segment trees itself. So I taught them segment trees. Then when they had no idea about hashing or 2 pointers or sliding window, any of these topics, I taught them segment trees, and they learned it completely. So even without any prior knowledge, they were able to learn segment trees. They were able to solve every question, or let's say the questions that only require the knowledge of segment trees. They were able to solve all of them. So that's the thing. So what I can do is that I can start uploading videos on my YouTube channel, and what I'll do is that I'll upload it in terms of sequence. So basically in the first lecture, I'll talk about the concept, right? So let's say I'm making videos on sliding window. So in the first lecture, I'll tell you what a sliding window is, what its complexity is, when you can use it, and all that sort of stuff. And then from there on, I can talk about questions that actually use a sliding window. So in this way, what would happen is that firstly you'll be learning the concept. Let me clean it up a bit. So in L1 you will be learning the concept, and from L1 onwards, that is from L2 L3 onwards, you will actually be utilizing that concept in order to solve questions. So it would become more solid for you. It would give you a good foundation. Also, before uploading the L1 itself, I'll upload something called as a L0 or a L0 lecture, or in this I can talk about all the prerequisite you require. So most of the time it's gonna be the case that you don't require any prerequisites. So I'll just say in that video that you don't require any prerequisites and you're good to go. Otherwise, if it require any sort of prerequisite, then I'll be explaining that in this L0 video. Also, whenever I'll be doing a L0 video, and if that topic requires some prerequisite, so let's say there's a topic A I'm gonna teach and it requires the knowledge of topic B, then I'll make sure that topic B has already been covered on my channel, so you don't face any difficulties. So yeah, this should be a good approach. If you follow that, trust me, you should be able to clear any company you want, right? Okay, going ahead. So I do have a small request with you. So do at least one of these 2 things. Doing both is great, but at least do one of these. So you could either share this channel and this video with the peers who could benefit from this, but it's completely fine if you don't want to share it. It's absolutely fine, I don't mind that. So if you don't want to share it, try to teach someone something on your own. It's better if you teach someone related to coding, because in that way both of you would grow. But even if you are not able to teach someone coding, at least teach someone anything you know right now. It could be literally anything. It could be cycling, it could be swimming, it could be some sort of physical activity, something related to mathematics or English, anything, like literally anything. You should teach someone something, right? And that, if you do that, it would give me immense pleasure, because the purpose of life is to acquire knowledge and impart it, and that's the sole reason of opening this channel as well. And yeah, I actually genuinely love coding, so that's a added advantage to me. But yeah, please do one of these two things. Like I mentioned, it's a humble request to everyone. So a lot of you would have already watched my videos, like the way I make it. So if you really like my videos, please do one of these at least. If you do both of them, thanks a lot, but please at least do one of them. Other than that, I really don't have any requests right now. If I would have a request, I'll ping down in the comment section. If you, however, have anything to say, have any request, want videos on any special topic, let me know in the comment section below. I'll try to make a video on that. Right now I'm trying to like analyze which is the topic I should start with. Should I start with hashing, or should I start with segment trees the way I've done it earlier? So once I'm done with it, what I'll try to do is that every week I'll try to cover at least one or two topics. So that, how many topics do we have here? Give me a second. Okay, so over here we have 1 2 3 4 5. 5 into 4 is 20, so we have 19 topics in total. This advanced topics, that binary lifting, etc. These are not asked in companies as such, and you can easily become a person up to expert or even candidate masters without going through these topics. So I'll be doing these topics, but I don't know exactly when I'll be doing those. So what I can do is that every week I'll be doing one or two topics. So in around 10 weeks, or maybe 10 to 15 weeks, all of these topics would be covered. Now these correspond to 4 months actually. So yeah, exactly in the time I had actually prepared myself, you will be prepared for those coding round or for the placement series. But the only thing that is required is consistency from your end and consistency from my end. As long as you keep supporting, I'll keep on making videos. And yeah, I really hope the best for you. Thanks guys, and all the best for your future. I hope you get what you actually desire for. Keep coding, happy coding, bye bye.